PK52, the Saturday morning meeting. Let's talk about safety for a second. In the last couple of series, we talked about the STAR safety system, which is the backbone of Toyota's safety, overall protection, and then we build upon that. So what would happen in the car if the car is being driven by the driver? The next thing is, the next evolution is, in today's market, how are drivers driving cars? Are they distracted? When did distractions start? I remember back when Toyota came out with its first cup holders, people said, well, why are you holding a beverage while you're driving your car? You're distracted. People used to smoke and drive. Now people vape and drive. Now people text and drive. And it's crazy because we'll put a 16-year-old youth in a car. They've had their driving safety test and everything. They promised the parents or the guardians or who's ever responsible for them that they would never text and drive. But if you drive next to them, very rarely are they not texting while they're driving. We're in an instant response society. It's not life or death most of the time that you get a message. It's a message from a friend with an emoji or some kind of ridiculous thing. You don't have 5 minutes till you get to your destination to return that text. That text has to be returned immediately. Cannot make anybody wait. And so what happens is we know the driver's going to be distracted. We know some drivers are better drivers than others, and we know different things can happen. Weather can happen. The overall performance of the car, because it wasn't maintained, can happen. And so the manufacturers have spent multiple millions of dollars per year making the cars safer than the actual driver. I've got a couple of things I want to talk about today, and we're talking about safety sense. And every time Toyota comes out with a brand new vehicle, they're pushing the envelope of how well the car will aid the driver in becoming a safer driver for both them, their passengers, and the other people that are distracted driving on the roads today. I've got two that I want to talk about today. Full dynamic radar cruise control. When this first came out, people didn't understand, how can a car detect something in front of them, another car that's moving? How can it lock onto that car and match its speed? Well, I'll take you back to World War II. Here's a battleship and a submarine. We can't see the submarine. The submarine's under the water. We can't hear the submarine. However, because of radar, we can bounce a radar wave off of that metallic substance onto the bottom, and the rate of return of that radar lets us know not only where the submarine is, how fast the submarine's moving, and in what direction it's moving, and maybe the depth of the ocean where the submarine is. And that's all done by the radar. Well, that's exactly how dynamic radar cruise control works. I'm driving down the highway. I set my speed limit at 65 miles an hour. That's my chosen speed. I pull in behind somebody that's going 55 miles an hour. Now I'm gaining on them. My dynamic radar cruise control starts bouncing back and forth, and all of a sudden it will slow me down to match their speed, this time at 55 miles per hour. Once they exit the interstate, it's going to go back to my predetermined speed, which was 65 miles an hour. So two things it does. It doesn't work if you're going below 25 miles an hour. First of all, I'm wondering why you're setting your cruise control at 19. But again, Toyota has to be pretty succinct in what they're saying. So it's made to use above the speed of 25 miles an hour. There's a couple of other crazy things that we want to throw in there. So if it's a heavy, foggy night, there's a lot of fog, which means there's a lot of reflection. So could this disable a cruise control, a dynamic radar cruise control? Yes. If I'm following something that's not made of metal, let's say there's a truck in front of me and it's pulling a trailer full of cotton. There's no way the radar is bouncing back and forth off the cotton, so then the system's not going to work. Also, I'm driving down the highway, watch me, and all of a sudden, I'm behind this guy going 55 miles an hour, and there's a deprivation in the road because I'm in a hilly country. I start to accelerate again. That car comes back up, it has to back off again. So once the car gets out of the range of the dynamic radar cruise control. Second thing is, there's another component along with this, there's an actual camera. So the eye of the camera can see what's in front of you. So not only am I using the radar, the car's actually got an eye to be able to say there's something in front. So I'm using both radar and the camera to determine what's in front of me and the speed it's going. It controls the throttle and the brakes. So if I come around a corner and there's somebody going really slow and I'm distracted, let's say I look at a text. I just needed to know who was texting me. It was that important while I was driving at highway speeds on a curve that when that text alarm went off in my phone, nothing else mattered on earth. Nothing mattered. I had to look and see who the text was from. At that point in time, I'm right up into this person that's in a curve that I did not see. The first thing the vehicle is going to do is going to starve the throttle of air. So what happens is by decreasing the airflow to the engine, it's going to slow down the engine. So the car is going to start to slow down to try to match the speeds. If I approach somebody too fast, the actual ABS can go on in the vehicle to start slowing the vehicle get down even more. So it gives me an opportunity to come up out of my text and realize I'm in a situation and assist the dynamic radar cruise control in making sure I don't have an accident. The next thing is distance settings. So there's 3 distance settings, and these are pretty accurate. Number one is short. So if you look at the bars, when you go on to dynamic radar cruise control, there's 3, there's 2, and there's 1. If I go down to the 1 bar, then that's about 100 feet. If I go to medium, that's about 165. If I go to long, it's about 245 feet, or just short of a football field. And so I can determine how close I want to follow somebody on the highway. And that makes a difference. If you're in traffic and the traffic's moving, and you don't want somebody coming in on you, because every time somebody moves in front of you, it's going to move you back. So you can determine on exactly the length of traveling distance that you want to accomplish. So we're launching a Super years ago, and it had a radar cruise control setup. So what was cool was we could go down the highway. There was 5 Supers we had on the launch team, and the first person could put their cruise control on, and the other 5 could lock on. And we looked like a precision driving team going down Interstate 4, just south of Orlando, heading to Tampa. And people are going like, wow, those guys can really drive. Look, they're maintaining perfect distance from each other the whole time they're driving. But the technology in the car did that. So full-time dynamic radar cruise control. The downside of this is if you're having one of those vegetable moments in your mind and you're driving down the highway and you want to drive 75 miles an hour, and all of a sudden you wake up out of the ether in your thought process and you realize you've been following a truck that's going 55 miles an hour for 30 minutes. So you have the ability to be able to turn the system off and drive your car. But again, a safety feature that could possibly keep you from being in an accident, make you a safer driver, and safety is paramount. So one of the first features that we'll cover on Safety Sense, let me do another. Pre-collision. The system activates at about 7 miles an hour. Okay? So at about 7 miles an hour, the system is going to be active. It's got the millimeter radar and a camera. So I'd like to explain to people, I'm driving in the middle of the day and a kid runs out in front of me. I see the kid, I apply the brakes, everything's okay. At night, or in that moment between night and day, that twilight area, where it's really hard to distinguish stuff, everything starts to gray out. And as people get older and their sight starts to go away, one of the first things that goes away is night vision. The easiest way to describe this is sometime watch a professional golf tournament. Sunday is usually the closing day. So watch the tournament, especially a major, and at the end of the tournament, you're still seeing the golfers play. It looks like it's noon, but if you're actually on the golf course, it's almost dark. It's dark enough that you can't really make out where the ball's going. But what happens is, just like a camera that's videoing that to show to the world, they open the iris up on the camera. As the light gets dimmer, they open the iris up more, and they keep opening the iris up. Now, the human eye has the ability to be able to open and close your pupil, but at night, we don't have nocturnal vision, but that camera does. So you're in a night situation, it's dim in the neighborhood, somebody runs out in front of you, the pedestrian detection in the pre-collision could see that child or that person and apply the brakes before you ever were aware that somebody was there. So It's an audible tone at 7 miles an hour, and it would give you an audible tone if something's in front of you. We talked in Star Safety System about brake assist. Sometimes you don't hit the brake with enough power. You could be sitting too far away. You're driving somebody else's car. You didn't rechange the seating position. I talked in the last section that you have a bad knee. You heard it in a basketball game. Or, there's just some kind of impairment which didn't allow you to go to the brake at full force. If it's a panic or a rapid strike of the brake pedal, then what happens is it maximizes braking and stopping ability at 100%. Well, the crazy thing about pre-collision is once that audible tone goes off, brake assist is automatically armed. So if you go to the brake, the brake is going to stop you at 100%. So again, all of these are to make you a more dynamic and safer driver. So we've just had the crash test of the 2023 Toyota Tundra. It got 5-star rating on the offset. The most tragic crash of any crash test is not head on. And it's not the side. It's when a very small portion of the front of the vehicle hits something, a non-movable object, and it turns and rips the vehicle. So that torque or that wrenching of the vehicle causes the integrity of the vehicle to go away. We've seen over the years some cars that did really well in a full frontal crash test, but when they had the off-site test, the vehicles failed miserably. So both passenger and driver in the 2023 Tundra got 5 stars. Best truck rated for 2023. Here is actual footage of the actual test. Notice the offset. Watch this. Watch the doors. Watch what happens. Look at the back doors. Look at the bed. The doors are still intact. The doors are still intact. Now I'm going to point out a couple other things. Watch the items in the bed of the truck. Nothing moves. This thing is 35 miles an hour in an offset test. The whole truck goes sideways. Watch the airbag deployment. The airbags are already there. The passengers, the pre-tensioners and the seatbelt slow the passenger down. And the airbags are already there to catch the driver in this situation. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. This is a lot of truck right here. Unbelievable. So again, 5 stars for the passenger and for the driver. Tune in next week and we'll continue with Safety Sense, PK52, the Saturday morning meeting.